buffalo slaughter is absolutely legal in India. After the calf is born, 3 to 4 months after that, the cow is impregnated again. Ideally, they start making her pregnant from 15 months to 18 months of age.
15 months?
And how did this semen come? There are different ways of doing it. They are given electric currents in their private parts to remove that semen. And in many cases, they are forcefully made to mount on the female. Nature has not made human mothers. Nature has made motherhood. And the motherhood is the same in all. Panjrapoles are started by Hindus and Jains with the intention of rescuing these cows that are going for slaughter and saving them.
Was it good to drink the milk from the panjrapoles?
Ruchika was born and raised in a Jain family where compassion was a way of life. Inspired by Gurudev Chitrabhanu and Pramada Chitrabhanu, pioneers of the vegan movement among Jains and others in India and the USA. Holding a master's degree in Jain philosophy, Ruchika has been vegan for over 2 decades. She co-founded Ahimsa Fest, India's largest vegan festival, and founded the Earthen One, a platform that has hosted over hundreds of events, helping people transition to a cruelty-free lifestyle.
It took me 7 to 8 years to go completely vegan. I would say there are more non-vegetarian who I've met who get convinced that okay, meat is not what they should be eating. And then they will get convinced about dairy also. And they don't end up thinking, okay, what will I eat tomorrow?
Right.
Then I saw a video of PETA that was based on India. I think that was the first video that came out. At least that was the first video I saw that was based on India. And that was like, oh my God, this does happen in India as well. There is cruelty in India as well. Veganism is nothing, but it's a small part of ahimsa.
That's true.
Ahimsa by itself can exist without any religion. This is what I love about Jainism, that the ahimsa goes down to such a subtle level. And it says Karan Karavan Anumodan.
What are the first sort of steps to become vegan?
That's a very important question. So
welcome, Ruchika. I'm
you.
so happy to have you here. Gurudev Chitrabhanuji was my guru. You're his daughter-in-law.
Yeah.
And so I've heard a lot about you from Pramodaji and all the work that you're doing around veganism. And so it's really my honor to have you here to talk about that topic today. So welcome.
Thank you so much. And I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah.
Especially with somebody who has the same connect with Gurudev Chitrabhanuji, because he was my guru as well. So it's fantastic to talk to you.
Yeah. I get a little teary even when you said it. So I have tears in my eyes. But okay, so the conversation around veganism can kind of go in different directions. Well, 2 different directions, I would say. And one is sort of like the health direction, like becoming vegan for health purposes. And then there's the reasoning of morality or animal rights. And, for us, we're both Jain.
Right.
So we talk about ahimsa, which is nonviolence. And so there's that, reason to become vegan as well. And so my first question is, I have found that the health reason sometimes sticks, sometimes doesn't, but when you really are in conviction around ahimsa, nonviolence, honoring all life, that seems to stick more. But I wanted to get your perspective on why should somebody choose to become vegan, or is there a right reason?
So most of the time, people become vegan for 3 reasons, right? One is, as you said, the morality or the ethics, when they see the cruelty that's involved. And especially in today's time when it's so obvious. You see it on social media. Earlier, people heard things, but they didn't see it themselves. Here now, when you can see it, it has a direct impact. Secondly, it's for environment. So a lot of youth also become vegan when they see the environmental impact it has. And thirdly, health, as you said, because that's when people can feel it themselves, they experience it themselves.
Yeah.
What happens in case of, many times, and you'll see people like go vegan, then they'll slip again, then they'll go back to being vegan again, or they'll slip and they'll not go back at all. When a person is morally convinced, okay, they will try to somewhat, that journey will keep going on and off, on and off. They will not be able to tune off completely.
Yeah.
Somewhere they will feel that oh, this is not right what I'm doing. And they will keep trying to go vegan. Eventually, they'll go completely vegan. Or at least a big part of their life will be vegan. They will consciously be trying to work on that. Environmentally, also, if they are convinced, which a lot of youth do get convinced, they will go vegan. Health aspect, what happens is, so in case of the environment and the moral reason, there is another factor that's motivating you beyond yourself. Okay, but in case of health, it's only about you. It's that realm is only till you. But in case of environment, you're relating that to something else beyond you. And naturally, there's ahimsa in every living being. So that is a little motivating factor. You're relating to another life there. So the chances of you staying vegan there or constantly pushing that boundary is going to be more when it comes from the ethic part or the environmental part. Health part, because it's only you, right? So that motivating part is only, it's limited.
Yeah.
So you will see people, either they are completely vegan and they stay vegan that way because they feel good, or they will take leeway or they will slip back. I have met people who went vegan because they had health issues. As soon as their diabetes got reversed or their health issues got reversed, they just went back to normal. And they manage their lifestyle disease that way. So that does happen.
Yeah.
Now, there is no general consensus, but you will come across people basically when they have morally or ethically become vegan, they will try and stick to that.
Yeah. I think I never even thought about the environmental reason.
Yeah.
So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And how you're saying that, if you have conviction in ahimsa and honoring life, all life, and you have conviction in the environment, something bigger than yourself.
As soon as something's bigger than you, that sense of gratification, it all comes in a lot more.
Yeah.
Right? You're constantly a border of, your boundaries of compassion is increasing.
Yeah.
The feel-good factor is increasing. You feel more tuned with yourself, with your thoughts, your inner voice. Because there's constantly something telling you that something's not right here, and you still do it. So when people go by ethics, the conviction level is a lot more higher.
Yeah.
They've created a connection with another form of life, and that stays. That's the reason why people continue staying vegan.
Yeah, yeah, I agree, because I've even had friends that have been vegan for a very long time, and they didn't do it for health reasons. They did it because they believed in animal rights, and but then they started to see some deficiencies in their bodies, and they weren't feeling as good. So then they sort of went back.
Yeah, that also happens with people who are ethically vegan. One thing is that even when you become ethically vegan, okay, you see all these videos with what's happening with the animals and all. But somewhere you have to build that own connection of yours. That will help you stay true to your conviction.
Yeah, when you say connected, what do you mean by that?
That is when you connect the pain of another life or what they're going through. And it's easy for us to connect to the pain of another mammal because they are like us. So when you're able to relate to that pain, like I can't relate to the pain of a vegetable that I'm cutting. I can't feel that pain.
Mm-hmm.
But I can feel the pain of an animal when they are suffering.
Yeah.
And that suffering is, if I go through that suffering, is going to be similar. There's a direct connect to that. So when I'm able to build that connection, and feel that connection, then it's easier for me to, stay true to those ethics.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I feel like there's so many layers to our conviction.
Yeah.
And even being mostly vegan, but I can't say I'm fully vegan because I still eat cheese. But there are many times where I'll disconnect, right? If I'm eating cheese,
Yes.
I disconnect from, what I'm eating.
Correct.
Right. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
If I was actually connected to what I'm eating, I don't think I'd be able to eat it. And so sometimes I think as human beings, we also try to disconnect, right? And so that we don't have to face the reality of something.
Yes.
Right. I think that so many people don't even want to watch videos,
Yeah.
right, of the cows getting slaughtered. How, and I know you'll describe more of this, I'll ask you. But when the calf is taken away just for us to have the milk, right? All of those videos and pictures of them crying and all of that, people don't want to even look at it. They don't want to face it. They hear it and they just want to put it out of their mind.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I think there's so much conditioning done on us, right? And I'll speak especially from the India perspective.
Yeah.
That there's so much conditioning. I grew up in an environment where, being a Jain, I didn't eat potato onions. Ahimsa was a big part of our life. But we consumed dairy. And nobody saw anything wrong with that. We also didn't have videos that time of what's happening in the dairy industry. So it is, you don't see the cow being killed. So you can't relate it to meat. The cow's there. And we always thought that the cow gives milk. There are so many times, actually, I didn't even think why the cow gives milk. It didn't even occur to me that the cow is giving milk because she's a mother. And we just thought the cow gives milk. And, apparently I also asked this question to a friend. And I asked her, when does a cow give milk? And she said the cow gives milk all her life, And I was like, no, she gives milk when she becomes a mother, just like the way you and I, our bodies made milk when we became a mother. And she's pretty shocked by that. So our conditioning that, the cow gives milk and her milk is meant for us. That is so deep. Secondly, there's a disconnect between the dairy and the meat industry. A meat industry is seen completely differently by the vegetarian. They feel, okay, we are not consuming meat. So we are not part of that. We are not contributing to that industry. But in case of dairy, the cow is still standing the next day. She's not dying.
Right.
And people didn't know that, okay, the cow goes for slaughter after 5 or 6 years of her life. This all has started coming out since the last few years. So that conditioning is so deep.
I didn't even know that, right? I didn't even know that they go for slaughter after 5 or 6 years of their life. What is their life term?
The normal lifespan would be between 20 to 25 years.
Right.
But in this case, she gets spent. So, she goes for slaughter early. And also because her milk output decreases. So as soon as the milk output decreases, the industry doesn't want her because it's expensive to keep a cow.
Mm-hmm.
To feed her, to maintain her, it's expensive. So they don't want to keep her then. So either she's abandoned or she's sent for slaughter. So that conditioning basically in India is so deep that people don't want to, they're not able to disconnect, right? They're not able to or question that, is this really happening? Or this is not happening in India. I personally believed this for the longest time, in spite of having the finest examples in my own house. Gurudev Chitrabhanu and Pramoda Ben, both being vegan, both spoke about it. It wasn't imposed on me, and I'm so thankful that it wasn't imposed, because had it been imposed, I think it would have turned out very different. Nor was I made to feel guilty, but I was constantly made aware that,
I'm just curious, how did they not make you feel guilty about it? Is it just because,
because it's not that every time, and I was the only one, I grew up drinking milk, okay? Even though my system didn't take it very well, I grew up drinking milk. And when I went into this house, there was no milk coming in the house. Nobody drank milk. So I started getting milk. And because they were vegans, I at least started getting milk from a panjrapole, where the cows don't go for slaughter. So I was the only one having milk. So my father-in-law, Chitrabhanuji, is at the most tell me that, this milk that you're having is actually for the calf. The mother's made it for her baby. She's not made it for you. So you are taking away the baby's food. It was very gently, the intention was to make me aware and not, maybe also make me feel guilty. But the way it was told to me was not like, oh, you're doing such a big crime.
Yeah.
Or the tone made a difference. There was compassion in the tone. There was compassion in making me understand that, listen, this what you're doing is not correct. It was not just forcefully being told to me and something that I had to do.
Yeah.
and had to follow out of fear and guilt. So that made a huge difference, and you can imagine that in spite of being in that house, it took me 7 to 8 years to go completely vegan. I kept doing it for some periods of time. I started with, during Paryushan. I did for a month. There were times I did it for 6 months and still went back
Yeah.
because I did not have my own conviction. So as I say, when you find your own conviction, your own trigger, that's when you will stick to it.
Yeah.
So imagine I came with such heavy conditioning that dairy is important. Dairy is part of our life, also part of our entire culture, tradition. It all gets related to the olden times, when Tirthankars had dairy, Krishna had dairy. Were they wrong? Also, that the cows are kept so well in India. It's not like foreign countries where it's completely like an industry. Here cows are kept in the backyard. They're kept like family members. So, this entire story, this entire tradition, and our parents had seen that. And that generation had actually witnessed this.
Yeah.
So, this conditioning took very long to come out, to understand, no, this is not what's happening. And as I said, we didn't have we didn't have any social media at that time. So that was my own journey. And even today, it will have to be a person's own journey to understand that this is what's really happening. And that is why I should walk away from
Yeah.
that heavy conditioning. I think not to accept truth. We don't want to accept something that we don't want to move into, move out of a comfort zone into something that will make us uncomfortable.
100%.
There are very few people who are, okay with that. In fact, I would say there are more non-vegetarian who I've met who get convinced that, okay, meat is not what they should be eating. And then they will get convinced about dairy also. And they don't end up thinking, okay, what will I eat tomorrow? Their thought is, I don't want to be a part of this and I want to walk away from this. And then it comes, okay, what am I going to do about this? Now, what will I eat? That's a secondary thing. In most of our cases, it is me first. If I stop this, what will happen? I love this. I love this product. How do I stop it? Like you said, cheese, right? So you're thinking like, okay, if I stop cheese, what am I going to eat then? How am I going to enjoy my pizza?
Yeah.
So
definitely pizza.
When it's when it's me first, then these things happen.
Yeah.
And that me first will happen till you do not find your own ground.
Yeah. It's right. It's so right. Because even I equate it to fasting, just to give a little context to what we're saying, because I'm realizing that maybe people watching don't know this, but Chitrabhanu Ji was one of the first gurus to come over to the US, to leave his monkhood in India as a Jain monk to actually spread Jainism. And not spread as convert, but to spread Jainism and be there for the Jains in the US. And so any influence that we have in the US, Jain temples, Jain organizations started with Chitrabhanu Ji. So I just wanted to ground that. That's who we're speaking about.
But Kavita, the reason why he came to the US was not to spread Jainism.
Yeah.
But the message of ahimsa of Mahavir.
Okay.
So it was the message of non-violence, love and peace. That was what he wanted to spread.
Yeah.
And I think that's when ahimsa is so neutral, right? It is not a religion. It's not ahimsa by itself can exist without any religion.
Yeah.
Without Jainism, without Buddhism, without any of those.
Yeah.
So, and that is what people connected with. They connected with ahimsa. They connected with peace. They connected with universal friendship, that is Maitri, towards all living beings. And that's how they realized that we have to have compassion towards all living beings. And they moved from a non-vegetarian diet to a vegetarian diet, and over the years to a vegan diet. But that was his intention. His intention was to spread the message of ahimsa and peace.
And peace. Yeah, I remember as soon as you said that, I remember him saying it's not even Jainism.
Yeah.
It's Jain Dharma.
Yeah.
Because it's more of a philosophy. But the number one tenet of Jain Dharma
Yeah.
is ahimsa. And so thank you for saying that. Yeah. And then also Parjushan is for Jains like an 8-day kind of like like a big holiday for us, or I don't know how you would describe it, but time where we are talking about forgiveness, compassion. We fast a lot during those 8 days. And it's all about ahimsa and really honoring all life forms.
Yeah.
And so what I was about to say about fasting is even fasting, I have found that if I do it for my health, I'm not able to do it for that reason, right? But if I'm fasting because I know it's good for my karma, shedding the bad karma, to enlighten my soul, to free life forms from being consumed by the idea that I would even eat them that day,
Correct.
from plants to animal products, that connecting to that
Yeah.
is what allows me to fast multiple days in a row or an entire week. It's not just my health that I can do it from just that place.
Correct.
Right? And so that's what we're sort of saying is that, and then there's layers to this, like you said, like even I right now, kind of that conviction is lacking in certain ways. And so, yeah. What helped you stay more in this state of conviction while you were sort of starting your journey?
The first time I heard about vegan was from Gurudev Chitrabhalu and Pramodabhen.
Yeah.
When I met them and I got married and came in this house. That was the first time I got to know about it. And I could understand the violence part, okay? But on the other side, I also had that conditioning that, in India, this doesn't happen. The cows are not tortured. They're not sent for slaughter. But I still loved them so much that, I was like, okay, no, there has to be some violence. So I would still keep trying, as I said, to be vegan, right? Every now and then. During Parjushan, go vegan, then go vegan for a week, then go vegan for 6 months. I was constantly trying this on and off. Then I saw a video of PETA that was based on India. I think that was the first video that came out. At least that was the first video I saw that was based on India. And that was like, oh my God, this does happen in India as well. There is cruelty in India as well.
Yeah.
So that was my first, I think, realization that it happens in India as well. And then what happened was when my second daughter was born and I was breastfeeding her. And one day while feeding her, some milk came out of my hand. And as soon as I saw that, and I had never seen human milk before that. Okay.
Right.
So I didn't know what it looked like. Never occurred to me that what does human milk look like. But as soon as I saw that, and I was like, oh my God, this looks exactly like the milk in the kitchen. And the milk that I used to, as I said, came from a panjrapole anyways. But that was like, oh my God, this looks exactly like that. And I just kind of like raised my head and I thought I saw a cow in front of me. And then that conversation started that, okay, now how will you feel if your child is taken away from you? And how will you feel if this would be a son and would be sent for slaughter, or your daughter's put through this entire process, or you never get to see a child again. And that was it. That was my ground. That is when I found my ahimsa. And that is when I decided that this is it. This is this is why I'm going to be vegan. And I did find challenges after that as well, because we are so used to thinking about ourselves. Temptations is such a big thing that you're obviously going to keep coming across these temptations. And gulab jamun was my favorite mithai. And one day some gulab jamuns came, and I was like, oh my God, I can't have this because I'm vegan now. And it was kept in the fridge, and I kept going, opening that fridge again and again the whole day. After every 20 minutes or half an hour, I just kept going, looking at it. And I got so tired by the end of it. I told myself, just eat that gulab jamun now. I was like, literally like told myself, stop doing this and just eat it. So I decided to eat it. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, before I eat this, I'm going to think of how this came. And I thought of that entire process like a movie in my head. I'm anyways a visual person. So, literally thought of, okay, this is what is happening to the cow, and this is how the calf is taken away, and the calf is not given the milk. And I went through that entire process in my head. And then I ate it. And that was it. That I think that's when the temptation, the intensity of the temptation went down so much. I don't remember after that getting tempted to eat something so strongly where I would compromise on this value. So constant reminders, one of the reasons why we also sleep is because we don't remind ourselves. It's important to keep creating that connection again and again and again, just the way we do with our own relatives, with our own family, with our own friends, right? We stay in touch, and that's when the connection stays, right? When you're having constant conversations with them and you're staying in touch, when you're meeting them, you have to constantly stay in touch. Remind yourself why. This why, and to keep constantly reminding us, why am I doing this? What is the reason behind this? That is important. And that helps you stay connected. Because you build the connection once, but it again needs to get fueled.
Yeah.
So to educate yourself constantly is important.
Yeah, it's like you said with your relatives, it's not like if you meet them once, then you stay connected forever, right? It's a constant working on it.
Yeah.
So,
Or like any skill, you have to keep updating it, right? It cannot, it's because it keeps changing with time. So just like the way you do it with everything else, you have to do it with this as well.
yeah.
You have to stay connected. You have to keep reading, finding out what's happening. Why is it not good for you? Why is it not good for the environment? What is it that's really happening to the animals now?
Yeah. I mean, what you're describing is so real, right? The gulab jambu, and then just even like wanting it and the temptation of it, and then, and you were so conscious in the way that you dealt with it to like go back and just connect. And I think that whole process is created by being more conscious, right?
Yeah. And if you see, nobody wants to cause suffering to somebody else, right? As soon as somebody sees that, oh, this is causing harm to someone, their first reaction is that, I don't want to do this. I don't want this to happen, right? But then the fear comes in that, oh, if I don't have this, then what will happen?
Yeah.
Why is that? Why is it that you're not able to give up the cheese? Because the temptation is so strong.
Yeah.
And when the temptation is strong, what do? We give into that temptation, which is fine. But we also push aside that other thought, which our inner voice is constantly telling us that you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Do I really want to do this? We are shunning that voice. We don't want to listen to it.
Yeah.
So we completely become desensitized that. And that is the biggest fear for me. And sometimes I don't want to talk too much to a person if they're not ready to hear it.
Yeah.
Because the fear that they will get desensitized, I think that is a larger harm done than somebody who stays ignorant, somebody who doesn't know about it. Because when you get desensitized, then you just don't care. You'll see it and you'll bring no change about it. You will not even think about it. You will forget about it. And that's one thing I try to stay conscious about, because I don't want the opposite person to get desensitized.
Like there's this apathy that comes in, right?
Yeah.
Like lack of, what would you say? Like lack of care?
I think it's just getting desensitized, basically, where it's not lack of care, but you don't want to do anything. You don't want to know about it. You don't even want to know what you're feeling inside.
Yeah. Okay. So like numbed out.
Numbed out.
Right?
Literally numbed out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that talking to those people is harder for you. Is that what you're saying?
It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's very hard talking to those people because they got so desensitized. Sometimes when somebody is not ready, I feel they should not be told too much about it. You have to wait for that person's readiness a little bit, so that they can understand what's happening. And that is why guilt tripping, I personally feel, does not help, because with guilt tripping, what happens is your first thing is defense. You'll try to defend yourself.
Yeah.
And your choices that you're making. But just to make somebody aware that, this is what is happening, they themselves will start questioning, do I really need to do this? Do I want to be a part of this?
Yeah.
If they're sensitive enough. I think it's one's personal journey. It is. I definitely am not going to stop doing this. I will keep talking about this. I will every opportunity get. I'm going to talk about animals and what they go through, because I mean, this is the mission for my life. But I just deal with it a little differently.
Yeah. I think that there is a lot around people wanting to guilt, right? Sometimes people look at PETA and they think, I'm not saying this is the right way to see it, but the person may look at it and be like, oh, well, I don't want to. I'll give you this example. I remember when I was dating and in New York City, and I went on this date and I shared with the person that I'm vegetarian, and they immediately felt like some reaction to that just by me saying I'm vegetarian. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I'm judging them if they eat meat, or maybe they think like he clearly had some insecurity around it, right?
They just feel not threatened, but that okay.
Or that like I feel I'm morally
Yeah.
on higher ground, or I'm going to be righteous about it or something, you know? Like there's that sort of perception.
Correct.
Do you find that that is there, or how do you work with that?
That is there, right? People don't want to be out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
They don't want to bring that change. So there are times when people
But do you
don't
feel
wanna
like
talk
even
about it.
vegans become righteous?
You know, it's a very natural reaction, right? When you get to know about what's really happening to the animals, and it is horrible, right? When you see that, you can't believe that it's happening at this scale. So much cruelty, so much torture. That is a very natural reaction. That how can somebody do this? And when you talk to someone else, it's very natural that it's going to come out that way. I was also like that. Very natural that you become like an activist. You know, there are people who still see me an activist because every opportunity I will get, I will speak about it. And people don't want to hear it, right?
Yeah.
So there is no right or wrong way. Like I said, for me, this has worked.
Yeah.
In my case, this has worked. But every voice that comes for the animals in whatever way is important, is needed. So for some people, they'll do activism in a great way. Somebody like Arvind or, Save Animals or PETA or any individual, you know, they're activists going on weekends, holding placards and talking. Absolutely needed. Every bit of awareness is needed. When you see at what scale this is happening, I feel even these voices are less.
Yeah.
You know, I wish there were a lot more voices speaking, and whatever works for you.
Yeah.
For different people, different things. Somebody speaks really, they connect with the environment really well, and they can speak from that aspect. Somebody from ethical aspect, somebody from health aspect. So there are doctors speaking from the health aspect, and they're giving you facts, and they're giving you statistics, and people experience the difference when they give up animal products.
Yeah.
So every voice, as I said, helps.
I actually like your answer. I really wanted to ask that because I think so many people get scared. That's why I was kind of using that dating example. Like on some level, he already thought I was going to think I'm better than him on some level or something, right?
Or maybe just that, you know, they don't want to be made uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They don't want somebody telling them, hey, you shouldn't be eating meat.
Yeah.
You know, and he doesn't want to give up the meat.
Yeah.
He doesn't want somebody telling him what is right and wrong, because their voice, it's
You have
even
to
a
feel something.
non-vegetarian
Yeah.
somewhere knows that this is not right. They don't
Do you
want
feel-
to cause harm.
Do you feel everyone has that? You do feel that?
I feel somewhere compassion is just such it's a part of every living being, as I said. It's just that they don't want to know about it. The fact that they don't want to know about it, that itself says that there is compassion.
Yeah.
Because if they see it, you know, they're going to feel guilty about it. They're going to feel bad about this. The next time, it's hard for them to enjoy that. So when people shut their eyes, they don't want to know, they don't want to see, that means there is compassion, but they don't want to step out of the comfort zone.
Yeah.
And they don't want to give up those temptations.
Yeah.
I hope you love this episode of Desi Wisdom. Please leave a comment below telling me if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you would have wanted more of. It really helps me refine this podcast to give you exactly what you want. I will be reading every comment and responding.
So can you explain to us the life cycle? You know, sort of when you talked about eating that gulab jambu and what you went through and what you connected with, and what is actually happening in the industry worldwide. Can you share how is milk actually being produced?
So worldwide, it is, of course, an industry, like a proper large industry. In India, it is different. It is a cooperative movement where the rural farmers, like people kept cows in their backyards, right? People still keep cows. They have 2 cows, 4 cows, 6 maybe, and more. And they then go and they get that milk, and then they go and give it to this one organization and taking it to the market. Okay, so that's how India is different from the Western countries. The procedures followed, somewhat similar. Artificial insemination happens in large industries. Artificial insemination also happens here. Because when you let the cow mate naturally, and now one important aspect is that they are very similar to us, right? So every mating does not mean that they're going to get pregnant. And how do you know that they got pregnant? It's just like a woman. She will find out after 2 months or 3 months when she skips her, her cycle.
Yeah.
In case of cows also, you get to know she's pregnant after, a particular period of time. I don't know exactly what that is, maybe a month and a half, 2 months but so to wait for that much time and then again to wait for them to mate and for her to get pregnant, there's no guarantee that she will get pregnant, how long it will take. And that's where artificial insemination was introduced in India as well. It had already started before independence, but not on large scale. Experiments had started. But post-independence, when the milk production was not high, was very low, not even enough for the population of India, and India to start importing milk powder, that's when this entire movement started, where artificial insemination was started. And, it was taught to these farmers. They had to obviously, because as I said, it's a cooperative movement. It's people in small villages having cows. They had to be taught how to do this. And that's when the entire movement, and it, I think, went on. It still goes on, obviously. And in fact, they must have mastered it by now, because the smallest village, the smallest farmer who probably has just 4 cows also knows how to artificially inseminate. He might not be educated, but he knows how to do that.
Yeah.
So procedure-wise, it's similar. They're artificially impregnated. They become pregnant. The chances of her getting pregnant is much higher when she's artificially impregnated. Secondly, they also started doing a lot of these, they use a lot of technology to figure whether the semen is of good quality or no. How do you know the semen is good quality? They don't see the health of a bull is not determined by its physical appearance, but by its sexual health. That is, if the daughter that's born is giving good quantity of milk, that means her semen is of good quality. So they want to use that selective kind of semen so that the daughter, when she gives milk, is giving a good quantity of milk. And the cows in India, compared to the Western cows, still give less milk, even though India has the largest population of bovines.
The largest population of bovines?
Yes. In the world.
In the world?
In the world. And that was true even in 1950 and 1960. But the milk production was very low because there was natural mating. There was no human interference. Artificial insemination wasn't happening. She was just giving whatever milk she was giving. There was no sex semen sorting happening. So even that time when it was highest, the milk production was low. Even today, we have the largest milk, the bovine population. But compared to the Western countries, our cows and buffaloes still don't give that much milk. And in Brazil, they do have gyr cows. And they give 30, 40, and sometimes even 60 or 70 liters of milk. Versus India, it's average 10 or 15 liters of milk. And and they want to increase that. They want to double that, triple that as well. So what do you do for that? Then you want to make sure that the semen that's being used is such high quality that the daughter will give high quality of milk, and good quantity rather than quality, good quantity of milk. So practices are the same, right? Every year the cow is made pregnant here as well. They cannot keep a cow without making her pregnant. So they start making her pregnant. And again, this will vary because this is as I said, a cooperative movement. So it will vary from farmer to farmer. But ideally, they start making her pregnant from 15 months to 18 months of age.
15 months?
Yeah.
15 months.
Yeah, 15 months to 18 months of age.
Pregnant.
Yeah. Artificially
that's-
inseminate her and make her pregnant.
That's like a baby still.
Yeah, they're still babies because they attain maturity. Naturally, they will attain maturity when they're 2.5 to 3 years old. And after that, they become pregnant. But here, it's literally reduced to half or a little more than half. And then after a child is born, after the calf is born, and the reason why I say child is because I don't see a difference between a human child and the calf. I don't see a difference. I don't want to call them human and animal. I think Mahavir gave a very beautiful word for all living beings, and he called all of them Jeev.
Jeev.
Whether 1 sense being or 5 sense being, he called all of them Jeev. And I think that's a beautiful definition to give because there's no difference in that 1 sense being or 5 sense being from the Jeev point of view.
Yeah.
So, that's why I end up saying child and mother and father because there's no difference. And I think once we remove that distinction as well from our
That
minds,
wall.
that wall that we created, and we
separation.
remove that and see her as a mother because nature has not made human mothers. Nature has made motherhood. And the motherhood is the same in all. So if you see mammal behavior, as a mother, they're all protective of their little ones.
Yeah.
They all feed their little ones. Their body makes milk only for their child, just the way our body made it. So motherhood is what is created. But we feel human mothers are superior. That's not true. We need to come out of this thinking.
Yeah.
Nature's not created any mother that's superior than the other. That is our arrogance. Anyways, so after she delivers the first calf, most of the time...
And I know I've talked to you. I heard you say this. It's 9 months.
It's
the
9
same
months.
as us.
It's similar. It's
It's
9
9
months. It is 9 months. And milk is made by the body only after the child is born. Not even while she's pregnant.
Right.
The milk comes only after the child is born.
Just like
Which
us.
itself is, that the law of nature. That means, and that itself is a direct message that milk is made by nature for that child. It is not made for another living being. We are the only species using the milk of another mammal. Anyways, after the calf is born, 3 to 4 months after that, the cow is impregnated again for the next
3 to 4 months
after that. Now, this could vary again depending on, because as I said this, but maybe in the large industries, this would be happening. In the foreign industries, this happen. Even in large industry in India, this would be happening. Farmer to farmer might vary, but they don't wait for very long. Because again, there's a huge cost involved, especially for that small farmer. It is very expensive to keep a cow, to feed her. Pasture lands are not available. They're available only in small villages now. But it is important for them to get her pregnant fast and not wait very long.
Yeah.
But the milking continues while she's pregnant, And that milk, when it comes to us, when a mother is pregnant, her entire hormonal, the body goes through changes, hormonal changes.
Yeah.
It's very different while she's lactating and when she becomes pregnant. So when she's pregnant and she's still being milked, the hormonal composition of the milk is very different.
Yeah, because even as humans, if you get pregnant again 3 months or 4 months after having your child, the milk stops.
Yeah.
Right.
Or you stop feeding.
And you
the
stop
child.
feeding.
You stop feeding the
Yeah.
child because it's not going to be good for the child.
Yeah.
But here they continue milking that pregnant cow for the next 6 to 7 months. And then we'll give her 2 months of rest.
And
so
how
that
do
her
they do
body
that?
recover.
How do they keep? They have to put
Because-
hormones.
Because they
No?
still have the calf.
Okay.
They will keep the calf for that. They use the calf only for let down. What do you mean by let down is they got the calf only to the mother to latch on, because the mother will only give milk when she sees a child. And in India, they have this horrible practice where the calf is killed or it's starved to death, and then it is stuffed and brought like a stuffed toy or like a packet, as they say, in front of the mother. Because then the mother sees, okay, that's my child. And then she starts
Letting
lactating.
down.
So they are only used for let down. And then they will pull the calf away and then they will start milking. Now, I have seen this multiple small farmers in these. I've also seen it in goshalas. I've seen it in these tabelas, where they do that, where the calves are bought and they're got, twice a day to be milked. So again, we are determining, or we are deciding when that calf should be drinking the milk. When in case of a human, nobody is deciding. The mother and the child decides, or rather the child decides when it wants the milk.
Yeah.
The mother feeds that child. There's no fixed timing, right? You don't keep a fixed timing. It's been 2 hours, I have to feed my child 3 hours. It's when the child cries, you feed the child. In this case, the calf is given milk just twice a day, morning and evening. So I personally don't understand this logic as to who decides when that calf should drink the milk. And why is it just morning and evening? Why is the calf not just left with the mother? The calf will drink as much as milk it wants when it's hungry. So I personally don't understand that. And then they will start, as soon as they start drinking milk, they will leave them there for a few minutes and then pull them apart, keep it near the mother, and then somebody will start milking the cow. And this is where I say that, okay, we are in Hindu and Jain, they use the term Maya. We are cheating the cow. This is deceit. And this is where I say it's also theft.
Theft.
Yeah. Because you are taking that milk without the permission of the mother, without the permission of the child. You kept that calf in front of the mother, where the mother thinks that, she feels the love for the child, and that's why she's lactating. And that's when you're removing the milk.
Yeah.
So, this is how I relate this to the principles of Jainism. And I have a lot of people arguing back on this, saying that, but if you don't remove the milk, the cow suffers. If you, let the calf drink all the milk, they will get loose motions, they get diarrhea, they get fatty liver, they fall sick, etc. So I get various arguments like that. And I agree that if you don't remove the milk, yes, they will suffer. But the question is, how did the cow start producing, where earlier she was producing, pre-independence, when she was producing 4 liters of milk? How did it come to 10 liters of milk? How is she producing 10 liters now? And obviously the calf is not going to have 10 liters. You have to remove that milk.
Yeah.
And now the government wants to take it to more, right? That's why they've imported semen from Brazil, because they want the cows here to give more milk. As I told you, that they give less milk compared to the cows in the Western countries.
Yeah.
So this is what they do. They use the semen of that kind where the daughter will give more milk. So how is it that a cow that was giving 3 liters and 4 liters, or say let's 6 liters of milk, is now giving 10 liters, 15 liters, or will start giving 30 liters of milk? There is manipulation that's done.
Yeah.
And then if you don't remove it, of course she's going to suffer. Of course you have to remove it. But is that the milk I want to have then?
Yeah.
That's when the ethical question comes, that when I've manipulated her body so much, there's no natural mating happening. Everything is through artificial insemination. And we talk about artificial insemination. We see videos of artificial insemination. But we don't know how is that semen removed before artificial insemination. The semen has to be removed. And how is that removed? What is the process for that? How painful is that process?
What do you mean by the semen having to be removed?
Because when you're artificially inseminating that cow, you need the semen.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Which otherwise happens in natural mating. How did they get that semen?
Right. How do they
How did they get that
just
semen?
keep the good ones and get rid of the other ones? Is
Or
that what
in
you're saying?
general, how did they get that semen? Without the semen, how is she going to get pregnant?
Right.
So how did they get that semen? Because human is inserting that semen in artificial insemination in her body.
Okay.
So how did they get that semen?
How do they get it out of the male?
Yeah. Right. So there's a different process for that.
Yeah.
That means the male is kept separate. The female is kept separate.
Right.
There's a separate process going on there to remove the semen.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that we talk about artificial insemination, but there
Yeah.
are multiple processes that go in.
Yeah.
And how did the semen come?
So,
So they what they do is, there are different ways of doing it. Large industries will, they create an artificial vagina where the male is made to that's how they extract the semen.
yeah.
Like by creating that
They have
artificial
sex
vagina.
with the
Yeah, the
artificial
artificial
vagina. Uh-huh.
Or they are given electric currents in their private parts to remove that semen. And in many cases, they are forcefully made to mount on the female. So none of it is natural in today's time.
Yeah.
None of it. That is one thing that people need to realize when they give these stories of, but in India, they are kept with care, they are kept as family members. Unfortunately, all that changed. And it changed 60, 70 years back. It's not the same anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And if that is happening, it's a very, very small percent. It's literally negligible. I can guarantee that the dairy that you're getting in your house, the cheese that you're having on your pizza, is not coming that way.
Yeah. And even if
It
it's
is coming through these
organic.
Organic just means that they are fed something that's organic,
Yeah.
that they're given grass to eat. And well, that happens mostly in India, that they're organic. There's of course some external feed given. Like somebody recently in a goshala was telling me that we give this feed because because of carbohydrates and protein and fat and, so that they get good stuff of all this. And I'm thinking, since when did the cow have to start thinking about its carbohydrate and protein and fat content?
Mm-hmm.
The cow would just go and graze.
Yeah.
They never had to think about that. And they grazed grass.
Yeah.
They did not have
Anything
any
else.
grain.
Yeah.
We are giving them grains. Grain is not their food.
Yeah.
So in India, they grow jowar and they grow, these, after they harvest, they give these leftover grasses to them. That's why it was cheaper to maintain a cow. And a cow was not kept, earlier days, cows were not kept for milking. They were kept for farming.
To
This
like
was
plow
the entire
and-
pre-independence. Before
Yeah.
the tractors came in, India was mainly an agricultural country. So they were kept basically for farming, for transport, for cow dung. Cow dung and urine were byproducts. Milking happened only for personal use, not for commercial.
Right.
So people had them in their backyards. Calf was born. They also obviously kept them for calf because then they would use the calf later on for farming again. The calf would be allowed to drink the milk, whatever excess milk they removed, which was very little. That time milk was very, very little. They used milk very conservatively. Milk was given to newborns, to old people, to sick people. It wasn't in an abundance.
Yeah.
Ghee was used very sparingly, and very consciously because they knew it's not easy to get so much milk.
Yeah.
And the entire thing changed. The entire thought process changed in 1970s when the focus became dairy. And the source of income became dairy. Earlier, that was not the case. And that's where the entire process changed.
Why did it change in the 70s? Or was it just that they wanted
Because-
to make more money off the dairy industry?
Because later they realized that, everything is done with long-term perspective. They realized that tractors will be, taken over. Like tractors will take over the bullock carts. Bullock carts will not be used. So, these cows and buffaloes or bulls will not be used for farming. And that is why dairy became the main focus.
I don't understand the connection. What do you mean?
So as I said before independence, the cows and the bulls were kept mainly for agriculture,
Yes.
for farming.
Right.
Milking happened in the backyard for personal use. Whatever extra was there, and that also they used, they used to give as buttermilk to the neighborhood around
Mm-hmm.
for free.
Mm-hmm.
There was no commercial angle to it.
Right.
And whenever there was, it was very small. It was not the main angle. Whereas post-independence, that entire perspective changed. They were not being used for agriculture anymore.
So how
Or
do we
that
use
would
them
have
now?
changed in the next coming 15, 20 years. That would change because there would be tractors. So now they are used for dairy.
So it's almost like, if I'm tracking what you're saying, it's almost like, okay, the tractors are coming. So what do we do with these animals now? How do we profit
And
or
milk was
use
a big
them?
part of our tradition and culture, right? So how do we use these now? Then we just use it for dairy.
Mm-hmm.
And India's dairy production was very low, wasn't enough for its own people, as I said.
Yeah.
So the entire focus on how to increase the dairy. And when they started that white revolution, and Dr. Kurian Verghese started that.
What is the white revolution? What is that?
White revolution and Operation Flood. That is that literally that there would be milk-like floods, produced in the country. Because India was milk deficit before that.
Mm.
So there would be sufficient milk for every family. And from nutrition point of view and, from those point of views. But dairy became the focus basically.
Yeah.
And that is why how to get more dairy. Because here then that for 20 years when they were trying, the cow was just giving that limited amount of milk. She's getting pregnant, she's not getting pregnant. There's no certainty of her pregnancy. There's no certainty there'd be a female calf born,
Right.
right? There are 50% chances of male and female. Male is not getting used anymore with time because farming stopped. Farming didn't stop, but they are not used for farming anymore. So there is no use for male. So with time, when they realize that this needs to change, we need to make sure that she gets pregnant for sure. That the pregnancy, the calf we get is a female. Because otherwise you're waiting for 9 months and you get a male. And then again you have to wait for 2-3 months and then make her pregnant again, wait another 9 months. So imagine how long those periods are. And the industry can't wait for this. And what do you do with the male calf? So because of all this, the process has started changing.
Mm.
That's why artificial insemination. That's why sex semen sorting. Sex semen sorting is where they want to make sure that when she gets pregnant, there will be the calf that's born that's female. So they check the X chromosome and the Y chromosomes and make sure that, and they get, according to their data, it says that the accuracy is pretty high of getting a female calf than a male calf. So that's why the process has changed entirely.
So genetically modified.
Yeah. So that's how we altered their bodies.
Mm-hmm.
That's the manipulation we're doing for with their bodies. There is no natural mating happening. Even if it's happening, very, very, very small. Okay. I have spoken to the Bela peoples and I've asked them, how many cows do you have?
What's a Bela? Can you explain?
The Bela is the small local kind of goshalas. So a lot of people would
Can you
not
explain
buy.
what Goshala is?
Yeah. So a lot of people would not buy Tetra milk, right?
What's
Those are-
Tetra milk?
Okay. All right. Great. So from people keeping cows in their own backyard, that reduced as people migrated to cities. Then there were these other people who started, doing business with the dairy. So they started keeping these cows and the local sheds, basically, where they have cows and bulls, right?
Okay.
Where they milk the cow every day, and then that milkman will come and give you fresh milk every day. So they're milking the cow in the morning and they're coming and giving you the milk.
Right.
Those are tabelas, local sheds,
Okay.
fresh milking happening. Okay. Tetra Pak is where in industries where they'll put the machines, okay, extract the milk and then pack it in packets so that there is a shelf life. That milk can be kept for 6 months and can be used for 6 months. Those are Tetra Paks. And then there are goshalas started by conscious people who feel that milk is an important part of our culture and tradition. Milk is important for vegetarians and for our bodies. But the cows should not go for slaughter. And the cows should not be artificially inseminated. Um, or wrong practices should not be followed. How many, now I don't know how many Gaushalas do artificial insemination, okay, that I'm not aware of. Whether they do, they don't do, but let's say a lot of them don't do. Some of them might be doing it because they're obviously still running it as a commercial venture. So those are Gaushalas where they probably are not sending the cows for slaughter. Okay, and panjrapoles are started by Hindus and Jains, and most of the panjrapoles are started by Jains with the intention of rescuing these cows that are going for slaughter and saving them. So that's when they get these rescued cows and keep them. A lot of these cows are already old, or they're sick, or they can't be, milked. They're already spent. Very few sometimes come, which get pregnant and which can be milked, but the milk production is low.
Yeah.
Okay, so these are panjrapoles where majority of the cows are rescued.
Okay.
The intention is to save them from going from slaughter. So they will live there for life.
Okay.
All right. So these are the...
So is it good to then drink the milk from the panjrapoles?
So the panjrapole gives very little milk.
Okay.
Okay. And there are certain panjrapoles where there are rescued cows of Jains. And even if they have, let's say, 2,000 cows, maybe 200 cows, 10% of the cows might be getting pregnant and might be getting milked. And then they use that milk only, and usually they are connected, the panjrapole will be connected with some temple or some dharamshala close by, and the milk is only used for that.
Yeah.
So there's no, the commercial angle is hardly anything.
Right.
Those
And I think-
panjrapoles cannot run on that milk that's being sold. It's a very small percent. They are mostly run on donations and funds.
Got it.
So as I said, the intention is not to make it a commercial venture. The intention is to save the cows.
Yeah.
So that's the good part about panjrapoles. And panjrapoles are needed. Yes, they are needed because there are so many cows going for slaughter. So
Yeah.
of course they need to get saved. Is it an answer? No, it's not an answer.
It's not an answer?
It's not an answer because...
Yeah, because I've heard that other saints have said, it would be good because ghee and dairy products are good for health, skin, hair, to have more panjrapoles, as you're putting it, where it's very consciously done. There's love, there's intention, it's not mass produced and all that. So why not?
That's a Gaushala, what you're saying.
Okay.
Okay, where they are kept to produce milk.
Right.
Panjrapoles, as I said.
The intention is not to get
Yeah,
milk.
so most of the animals that they are getting are rescued ones.
Right.
The ones going for slaughter. And according to the law, only the ones which are old, which are of no use, go for slaughter. So most of the time, the ones which are coming are already spent. They can't be milked. So, and even if they get pregnant, the output is very low.
Okay.
So panjrapole is completely different. What I'm saying is the reason why they're not an answer to the problem that is there is because, a huge number of cows and buffaloes go for slaughter each day. Massive. Are we able to save them? No. We're able to save a very small percent of that, say even 10%. Okay, let's assume 50,000 cows and buffaloes go for slaughter every day.
Yeah.
The number is much bigger. But let's say 50,000 go. If you're saving 5,000, yes, that's great. And that's why panjrapoles are required. And maybe there should be more panjrapoles so that we can save all of them. But is it practical? No, it doesn't happen. Once you get that cow there in the panjrapole, now that cow is going to live for the rest of its life. So she might be 6 or 7 years old when she's coming to you. She's going to live for another 13 years. To save another 50,000 cows the next day, you need that much land.
Mm-hmm.
You need that much funds. It's not possible. It's not
Yeah.
practical. It doesn't
Because the
happen.
industry has gotten so massive.
It is so massive at the scale at which it is. And that's why I feel it is impossible to reverse it.
Yeah.
You cannot match government funding for this. The funding that they get, the industry gets, it's huge.
Yeah.
There's no way we can match that.
Right.
So the only way to reverse this process is if you stop the consumption. And if you're consuming it from Gaushalas, at least it's better than the commercial milk, I agree. But I still feel it is not the answer for those animals. You found a solution for yourself.
Yeah.
That I want to consume the milk, I want to consume the ghee, I want dairy. So I will get it from a source which is more ethical. I wouldn't say ahimsa milk, little more ethical because the cruelty aspect is lesser. So I will get that. So I found a solution for myself, but I haven't found a solution for them. Those are still going. What happens to that? So till you do not stop your demand from that dairy, which are going for slaughter, you're still funding them.
Yeah.
Stop that. And that's what I tell every Jain. Stop the milk that is coming to you from torture, or where the cow is going for slaughter, or the calf is going for slaughter, where the mother or child is separated. I think mother child anyways get separated everywhere because you're not going to get milk otherwise.
Yeah.
And if you're getting the milk, as I said, it is because we've manipulated the system. But anyways, if the cow is going for slaughter, if the calf is going for slaughter, at least do not have that dairy.
Yeah, this blows my mind because it's sort of like you don't even think as far as like, let alone everything that you have just said, right? Which is nuanced in how you just described it. But even just the act of the calf being taken away from the mother, like how does milk even happen, right? And how do we get it? Like just even that simple like fact alone is from an ahimsa perspective massive. Yeah.
I recently, and this was just like 10 days back, happened to see a small dairy in Rajasthan. And, I saw calves there and I saw the mothers there. And I asked the guy who was, looking after them, I asked him that, how much, like, do you let the calf drink milk? He's like, yeah, they drink the milk first and then we remove what is left. And I was like, how much does a calf drink? He's like 150 to 100 to 150 ml. And I was like, that's it. He's like, yeah. And after some time when I was leaving, he tells me, we sell pure Desi ghee at this price. I think it was between 2,000 or 3,000 rupees a kilo. And I was like, okay, and where is this? Is the ghee made from the cow coming from these cows? He's like, yeah. And that's when I put one and one together. And I was like, you're giving the calf 100 to 150 ml of milk. A human child drinks more milk than that.
Yeah.
Drinks a glass full, which is around 200 to 250 ml of milk. How is that 100 or 100 ml of milk enough for that calf?
Yeah.
And they were skinny and bony. All of them. They were just skin and bones. That's it. And I was like, who decides how much milk they should be drinking? That's when it occurred to me. I was like, because there are other places I've visited. And they're like, we let them drink 3 liters and 4 liters. And somebody's saying we let them drink, 1.5 liter of milk. And this one is like 100 ml to 150 ml. I was like, who decides what's the right quantity?
Yeah, who does? That's exactly what I was thinking.
Is
Who
the calf
decides?
letting go by itself? Because that's what a child does. When does a human child, when did your child overdrink the milk? Did you ever have to like push the child away? Or did the child stop on its own?
Yeah, it stops on his own. In my case, he was drinking all the time.
That's because the body is not producing enough.
Yeah, exactly. So he was getting little bit. But yeah.
That was the case with my older child as well. I mean,
Yeah.
my body didn't produce enough milk. She was hungry.
Yeah.
It didn't fill her up in one time.
I was just feeding a lot. But yeah.
But that's when your child is crying, you're feeding.
But even
just-
just that thought, right? Like even just this thought of even within the calf and cow, they have personality. They have their own way, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if left to a natural way of drinking,
That's what I'm saying.
that
It's not going to be any different than it
Yeah.
was with our children.
right.
Like we didn't have fixed timings of feeding.
no,
It's just that we understood the pattern.
yeah. I
That,
mean, I
okay,
think in the
this is
West, people
time.
try to schedule everything, but yeah, there's no.
That's sad. But
Yeah.
it's just that as a mother, you will understand the pattern of the child.
Yeah.
That, okay, it's
rhythm.
the rhythm. That, okay, the child's got hungry, will get hungry at this time. Or it's been 2.5 hours. Now my child's going to be hungry.
Yeah.
So you will feed, right? If the child is not hungry, the child will not feed, and they let go of it by themselves. The same thing happens. Why wouldn't the same thing happen? As I said, nature created motherhood. They created the mother and the child. Why wouldn't that same logic apply everywhere else? Why would be any different?
Yeah.
Here, we are clearly controlling this. And I remember my child, when I used to feed her, while feeding, she would get diarrhea. So I'd be feeding, cleaning, feeding, cleaning.
Oh, really?
That was my entire routine for, I think, for quite a few weeks. If I remember, between 1 to 3 months, that was my routine.
Why? Because she couldn't.
Her system took time to get adjusted to that, maybe to
She
digest
couldn't
it.
digest it all the way.
It took time. This is a newborn child, which earlier was, being fed with what you're eating. So there was ready-made food reaching down there in the system.
Yeah.
They didn't have to do any work. But here now, their system has to digest it, right?
Yeah.
It's freshly going in there. They have to get used to it. So this was my personal
And what
experience.
we're eating
okay?
as mothers,
Exactly,
and how they're
exactly.
insulin lad, and
Exactly. So this was my personal experience. And I always relate my personal experience with that, because I don't see it any different.
yeah,
Right? As I said, motherhood's the same. Just the way I protect my child, that mother protects her child. And if you go, and I recently again went to another panjrapole, and I saw this one cow tied. And I asked that guy, why is she tied here? And he said, because we milk. No, he said something else to me. And as soon as I went close to her, she got angry. She was ready to chat, though she was tied. And those guys told me, don't go close to her. And I understood there's something fishy. So I asked them, where's the calf? And they said, the calf's inside there. And they said, but don't go ahead, because I could see the mother getting angry. And that's exactly how we act when we feel our child's in danger.
yeah.
Or
I mean,
we
beyond
sense-
angry.
So that's exactly, it's the same. That's what I'm saying. The motherhood is the same.
Yeah.
And the calf was inside there, tucked in, in a tiny place. A really tiny calf must have not been more than a month old, tied. Okay. And why is the calf tied? And I am asking, why is the calf tied? And of course, I knew why he's tied. It's because if we lead the calf will go to the mother
And drink, man.
and drink milk. And he himself is telling me, then there'll be nothing left for us. He will drink all the milk. So I was like, what's the harm if he drinks all the milk? No, then they get diarrhea. And before that, he is showing me these other cows and calves, okay, which are kept in a separate area. And the calves are kept with the mother there. Those are older calves. They're kept with the mother. The calves are also having, other food like grass and grains. But they're also drinking some milk. And that time they're telling me, they drink all the milk here. We don't milk these cows. I'm like, how come you don't milk these cows? He's like, because they don't produce enough. It's very little. It's just enough for the calf. So I was like, okay, and the calf is drinking all that milk. The calf is not getting diarrhea. And he's saying, no. So I was like, how come? He's saying, because here they're kept free. They're moving around. So this is happening in that same place where here he is telling me this story and there he's telling me a different story. So of course the newborn, my child took time to adjust. Maybe that newborn is taking child to adjust, to adjust to that milk. And also because that calf is kept tied, there is no movement. Like he just told me previously that in case there's movement here, so it's able to digest the milk.
Yeah.
So who decides when the calf will drink milk? How much milk the calf should drink? Who decides all this? And these are questions I have for them. These are questions I have for Gaushalas. These are questions I have, wherever they say they are keeping the cow and the calf ethically. These are questions I have for you. It'll be great if you can answer them.
Yeah.
But I still see a disconnect as a mother. And I agree they produce extra milk now because we have changed their system. So if you don't remove it, it is going to cause pain. I agree with that part.
If you don't, say that again?
If you don't remove that milk, it is going to cause pain to that mother.
Yeah.
Right?
Because now they're producing at a different level.
Different level of milk.
Yeah.
So that has to be removed. And even though you are not doing those injections and stuff like that, but that DNA has changed.
Even if they don't
Most of the
inseminate.
time. Yeah.
Even if they don't inseminate.
Even if you don't inseminate.
Yeah.
You got that cow from somewhere
else that did inseminate.
which probably
most
had
likely.
inseminated, where probably the genetics have been changed,
Yeah.
right? The reason why they also do this, and they track all this in the industry, they track all this, that over a period of time, okay, when they're doing this sex semen sorting and stuff like that, it's not that the next pregnancy she's going to give you, 3 times of milk. That's not the case. But over a period of time, because the genetics will keep improving,
Right.
eventually, in a few years, they will start giving that much quantity of milk. And that will become the norm. They will start giving 15 liters, 20 liters, 30 liters of milk. You have to remove that. The calf cannot drink that much.
Yeah.
But do I want to be a part of that now? Where I've messed up their system. I'm making that body produce more milk than it can handle, because that body hasn't changed. If my body is made to produce 4 and 5 times of milk, what will happen to my body?
Yeah.
It's so much stress on my body.
So much stress. Like just imagining that, like in an incredible amount of pain.
Yeah, imagine getting pregnant so many
Stress.
times. Imagine the stress that's caused because
And
of
all
so
those
much
hormones.
milk. Exactly, milk being produced. Obviously, she's going to get spent in period of 4 to 5,
5 years.
Of course, that milk has to be removed. But then do I want to consume that milk? And what good is that milk going to do to me, which has come from so much stress?
Yeah. And after 4 to 5 years, most likely, they're slaughtered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And many times, in India at least, because these are small farmers and they're Hindus, their religious practice doesn't agree, though this number is also getting small now. So they will abandon it. That's why you'll see cows in the street. Or they will come and give it to a panjrapole. You know that. And they will leave calves, they will leave pregnant mothers, they will leave mothers, or they will just leave the calf and keep the mother. They will leave not just male calf, but also female calf, because they don't have the funds to feed her for 3 years, because it will take her 3 years to get into maturity and to get her pregnant, because they might not artificially inseminate her at 15, 18 months. So they will wait for the natural process of 3 years. They don't have the funds. So they will abandon
Yeah.
and they will leave them there. Or they will starve them to death, because then they feel that, okay, we haven't killed them, but this one has died out of starvation. They will not feed the male calf.
Because they don't have the money. Or they don't want to
No,
put the
because
money.
they don't want the male, and they don't feel ethical to sell the male to a
Slaughterhouse.
yeah.
But they just stop feeding.
Yeah, they don't feed that, and they are starved to death. So in 2 weeks or 3 weeks time, that calf will die, or they abandoned and, as I said, dropped to a panjrapole.
Yeah. When I just sort of look at it, even, I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but, let's just say for this moment, in India, maybe there's an honoring of cows slightly more than the rest of the world, just because of our Hindu values, right? So to imagine what is actually happening, like I live in the US, to imagine what is actually happening in other countries around dairy it feels like it's worse.
It is worse.
Yeah.
There they are absolutely used as commodities.
Yeah.
They're 100% artificially inseminated.
Yeah.
Calf is definitely separated. Even the female calf is separated, and she's given a milk replacer. The feed is different.
Mm-hmm.
The feed that they're given, they're not always vegetarian in foreign countries. And
Really?
another reason why the government doesn't want to take American milk is because they are fed animal products in the feed. It's part of that, to make the quality of milk better, to improve the fat content in the whether that happens in India or no, I'm not sure. But maybe at small scale it doesn't. I don't know at other scale, but insect powders could be given. But again, I'm not sure of that.
What is it?
Insect powder.
Insect powder?
Yeah, because insects are harvested in Western countries now,
For what?
because the protein content from them is high.
Oh, and they give that.
And then they crush them into a powder.
Right.
And then they mix that into different foods.
And
they can probably mix, and they must be mixing that in the animal feed as well.
feed.
So in Western countries, there's definitely animal product. India, I'm not sure.
Yeah. That blows my mind.
And also, mentally we believe that cows should not go for slaughter. Actually, most of the beef that comes is from buffaloes.
From buffaloes?
Yeah, the buffalo slaughter is absolutely legal in India. Yeah. They can 100% of them.
Is that true around the world or just mostly here? That most of the meat is from.
I'm not sure about
Okay.
I'm not sure about the foreign countries. But in foreign countries, they don't have this, right? Like Hindus, as culturally, religiously, we see the cow as holy
Sacred.
and
Yeah.
sacred, not the buffalo.
Right.
We call Go Mata. But the fact is, even the buffalo's a Mata. No, that's when she's giving the milk.
Yep.
She's not giving milk without becoming a Mata.
Yeah.
But all buffaloes go for slaughter. That's absolutely legal. So majority of the beef that's produced in India is produced from buffaloes. But cow slaughter also happens. In many states it's illegal, some states it's legal. And there's also illegal slaughter happening. So we made to think, again that division, that no, cows are our mothers. But you don't know whose milk you're drinking.
Yeah.
Your ghee and the paneer could be made from the buffalo's milk. So why is she not your mother? And why is that mother treated like this?
Yeah.
And as a Jain, for me, it doesn't make a difference. For me, no one animal is special. Every jeev is special.
Yeah.
But we made to believe that, Go Mata and that's sacred. But that's happening to all of them.
Yeah. I'm like a little speechless right now.
So if you go to every
Honestly.
panjrapole also, you'll see majority cows. You'll rarely see, or a very small % of buffaloes.
Because they're killed.
Yeah, because they're killed and because it's legal to kill them.
So they're eating buffalo meat.
The second part that they feel and they keep telling me is, but this should not happen and people should start doing this and they should start doing that and all. And I think what I want to say is that
Wait, what do they say?
they say that, but cows should be kept well and the milk should come in a particular way. And like how Sadhu Maharaj Sahib say that there need to be more gaushalas for this.
Yeah.
And we need to increase the demand for this. And that's when the demand for this milk will go down.
Right.
Because
That's
I
the
keep telling
argument.
them that tell Jains to stop commercial milk. And the argument I get back is we cannot tell them to stop commercial milk till we don't have an alternative. I want to touch this aspect because till you're finding an alternative and till you're consuming this, those cows are getting killed.
Yeah.
So are you okay with that? And are you in agreement with that?
Yeah. Because this isn't stopping.
And are you giving your consent to that? And if you're fine, fine. Just say it that you're fine with these cows getting slaughtered, but you will consume this product till you will get a better product. That acceptance that yes, I'm okay with it. And then consume it.
Yeah.
And at the same time, to wait till the demand of this goes up so much and so much of this starts coming in the market, it is impossible. If it's taken the government to get the dairy to this level, it's taken them 60, from let's say 1970 to now, it's 55 years or more,
Yeah.
65 years, whatever. If it's taken them 60 years to get it to this level and it is rolling at such a fast pace, how many years are you going to take to stop this, to roll this back and to start another system? You're not going to take less than 60 years. You're going to take more than that.
Yeah. I'm trying to.
So how are you going to fight that system? And how are you going to reduce that is my question.
Yeah.
And do you wait till then or do you stop your consumption at least and stop participating in that?
Yeah. It's like any protest, right? If you're against something, what do? You stop consuming, stop.
If you're against child labor, you're not going to use child labor in your factory or in your homes because you're against it.
Yeah.
Even knowing that, okay, that child can help support its family, you will not use child labor.
I'm trying to come up with some arguments, because I'm trying to come up with okay,
So
what is
maybe this
somebody-
argument that, how about, the demand of this goshalas increase?
But what you're saying is even if the demand of the goshalas increase, yes, like you said, ethically it'll be better. But the intention is the same. The intention is how do we get the most amount of milk, right?
The thing is
Isn't that true?
the thing is that the demand is so much for dairy products right now that in spite of producing so much dairy in this unethical manner, it is still not being met. There is so much of, adulteration happening. The paneer that is coming, the ghee that is coming, there's so many, videos coming that these are not pure, these are all adulterated. Because there's so much demand that in spite of so much dairy being produced, they're not able to meet it. So how many gaushalas are you going to create? to meet this demand? And how many years will it take you to create this much dairy?
Yeah.
Are you trying to find a solution just for the Jain community? But then you not found a solution for those cows going for slaughter.
Yeah.
The thing I think people need to answer is, am I only interested in finding a solution for myself?
For myself. Yeah.
Then I don't care what happens to those other cows. Or am I interested in finding a solution on how to stop this cruelty happening on animals? And as a Jain, that should be my intention. As a Jain, my intention should not be how can I get dairy in a less cruel way. These are the two things I want to talk about.
So do you want to say more about that?
I think these are the two things that we need to touch base on, because somewhere I want to keep telling them that fine, have it, but then be okay. See, I'm okay with the slaughter that's happening. The accountability.
Because a lot of Jains will also say, well,
by just saying that, oh, but this talking about solution doesn't help, and not being a solution.
I think it comes down to that. Are you okay with the cruelty and the ahimsa that is already happening?
Yeah. And accept it. Take ownership of that. That if you're consuming it, then I'm okay that the cow has gone for slaughter. I'm okay with that. Take the ownership.
Yeah.
There has to be accountability.
So we didn't even touch, for obvious reasons, no, I shouldn't say it that way, but we didn't even touch the whole health aspect because that's not your specialty.
I don't want to,
yeah, that's not your
don't want
specialty.
to touch on now.
But I just want to say
But you can just say that, have you had health issues? And I can say I've been, on your question on ghee, that it's important for health. And all I can say is that I'm vegan for 18 years. I'm not consumed any ghee since 18 years. I'm fine.
Yeah.
I'm not on any medication.
Yeah.
I rarely fall sick. I've not had any health issues being a vegan.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, my hair is great, as you can see.
Your hair is great.
My skin is pretty good as well.
Yeah. I just think this whole conversation is centered, and I want it to be centered less on the health aspect anyhow, and more.
I can just say that I've not had issues, but I can say when I stopped giving them milk, they stopped visiting the doctor.
Yeah. You found that to be true.
They stopped visiting
with your kids. Yeah. Okay. So then what should we end on, you think?
I think ending on this accountability part.
Okay. So let me
because I'm leaving them with a thought there.
Yeah.
And I want to leave people with a thought. I don't want to just give gyan.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that then.
That, okay, if you feel that you're okay to have this, then sure. Just take ownership and accountability that you're okay with that cow going for slaughter. And if you think that Goshala, and I'm not against that, but it's important to know that you've just found a solution for yourself. You've not found a solution to the entire problem. Then make sure that you're not having commercial dairy and not participating in that.
So let me ask you this. If somebody watches this and they're like, wow, I see it. I felt it. I am about ahimsa and I care for animals. I see that there's no separation, What are the first sort of steps that they can take to become vegan or to start to go down that path? What are some of the first steps they can take?
That's a very important question. So I have seen people when they see this for the first time and, they just start feeling so uneasy. They obviously start feeling really bad towards this.
Yeah, no, I mean...
And they don't want to be a part of it and they immediately go vegan. Like overnight.
The other thing I wanted to say, even us talking, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so bad about the cheese I'm eating, right? Like I'm getting that over and over again in the back of my mind. So anyhow, but go ahead, yeah.
So the first thing they want to do is they just go vegan overnight, okay? And this is because this decision is taken because of the emotions. And when you get so emotional and take a decision, at some point those emotions are going to come down. And you are going to start retreating.
Yeah,
right?
Totally.
So very rarely have I come across a person who's taken a decision overnight and sustained it. It's rare. Because then their conviction is so strong that they stick to it. They sustain it. And as I said, they're constantly, asking that why. They're constantly educating themselves and finding the reason why they should continue doing it. But what I would tell people in general is first, educate yourself. You found out this is happening. This is the truth. This is happening.
Yeah.
Okay. Then go slow. So start with reducing your intake of whatever dairy. Maybe you reduce the quantity you have. Maybe whatever works for you. Now you have to find your balance there. If you feel you're having tea twice a day, maybe replace it with plant-based milk once a day. Or maybe just replace dairy if that's the easiest for you. If you feel cheese is the easiest for you or butter is the easiest for you, give that up. If you feel doing it once a week is easiest for you, do it that way. But make sure you keep educating yourself because the idea is you grow from there,
Yeah.
you know. Otherwise, it just becomes a regular Mangalvar that people do and Shanivar that they do every Tuesday. Okay, I will not eat meat, and every Saturday I will not eat meat, and remains like that for life. The rest of the day you're having ample of meat. It covers up for those Tuesdays and Saturdays also. So make sure that you have certain, goal in mind that I want to reduce my dairy either completely or by 90%. I only want to keep it when it's difficult for me to find something. So keep that as a goal and then start moving towards that in a slow fashion. By giving up what's easiest for you, how many times it's easy for you. That is a personal, and it will differ for each one.
Yeah.
So that's a personal call
Like
that one
for
takes.
me, I remember at the beginning, butter was easy to give up, even though it tastes good on bread. You know, it was easier
Yeah.
to give up, and ghee was easier to give up because you can just replace it with oil.
Yeah.
Right? Even on my toast, I would put. I mean, now they have a lot of vegan butters
Yeah.
that are all oil based, which taste like butter.
Yeah.
But I would do like olive oil or coconut oil and put salt.
Yeah.
So then it tasted sort
Correct.
of like butter.
Correct.
But yeah, that was like one of my first things. And then I felt like oat milk, out of all the milks I've tried, rice milk, soy milk, almond milk, there's cashew milk now, whatever you prefer. But I felt like oat milk had
Worked
that
the best for you.
creamy feeling to it. So I enjoyed that, right? So,
Yeah.
But yeah.
I personally like soy milk.
Yeah.
I make soy milk at home.
Yeah.
So as I said, that's very personal.
Yeah.
And that one has to find their own, that's your own journey. You have to find that out. But keep a goal. And as you said, butter was the easiest for you. And then you figured how to do your food that way.
Yeah.
Right. But the intention is important. That I do not want to be a part of this.
Yeah.
That intention. Because if your intention is not there, intention with the conviction that I don't want to be a part of this, and I feel there is cruelty, and I want to step away from it. So your intention with the conviction, and then regularly updating yourself, reading about it, seeing the difference yourself, making these small changes, which is no big deal because majority of our food can easily be made vegan.
Yeah.
Right? Just replace the ghee with oil. And thankfully, our main diet is not dairy. Like I can't survive just on milk. I can't survive just on dahi. I can't survive just on cheese.
Yeah.
Right? Pizza is not my main diet. You can't have pizza every single day.
You can, can't you?
So you can, yeah, probably. Okay, but the good thing is that vegan cheese, you can still have a pizza without any cheese, maybe, once in a while.
It still tastes very good.
It still tastes
Even with
great.
vegan cheese, it tastes good. I mean,
You can try tofu on it.
yeah.
So that intention will take you forward, but that intention is important.
Yeah.
Don't just come out of emotion. And of course, the emotion is important because that's when you're creating the connect also.
Yeah.
But with that emotion, then make an intention that I don't want to be a part of this. Otherwise you will keep slipping. And it's okay to slip also. But it's important to rise again and move forward,
Yeah. Yeah.
Not just go back completely and walk away from it.
Yeah.
And that's what happens with a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because they will give into that emotion. They will really try to do these things without understanding.
And then they burn
will
out.
fumble. They will burn out. And this is where they become desensitive. And that I feel is the dangerous part. Because then it stops touching you. And that should not happen.
Yeah.
So it's better you go slow.
It's better to go slow.
It's better you go slow and steady and sustain it and keep a goal that I want to come to this level and maybe in this much time. Then you will move in a more systematic way and you will then move towards going vegan.
Yeah, because what struck me about something that I think you had said before is there's no difference between the beef industry and the dairy industry. They're the same. And we want to separate them in our minds as if like, oh, okay, I don't eat meat,
Yeah.
but, I consume dairy, but they're part of the same life cycle.
Well, unfortunately, in India it is. So there is the dairy industry, there is the beef industry, there is the leather industry. So in India, cows and buffaloes are not raised for beef industry. They get that raw material from the dairy industry. So once, they stop producing, or it's not stop, but once their output of milk reduces, they are sent for slaughter, they're sent for beef, and then for leather. So these are all connected.
Yeah.
They're not separate, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So that's how it is in India. And this is what I love about Jainism, that the ahimsa goes down to such a subtle level, right? And it says Karan, Karavan, Anumodan.
Say that again. Karan?
Karan, Karavan.
Karavan.
Karan means to do
Mm.
yourself. Karavan means to get it done through somebody else. And Anumodan means to encourage it in some way or the other. Sarkha phal upjave. They are treated the same way. There's no difference. It attracts the same kind of karma.
Say that last part again. What is the connection? So Karan,
Karan, Karavan, Anumodan.
Anumoda.
Anumodan is when you praise something, when you encourage
Yes.
something.
Yes.
Right? Sarkha phal upjave. Sarkha means similar. Phal means result. जैसे we say karma. जैसे करनी वैसी भरनी क्या जो करते हैं वैसा फल मिलता है.
Yeah.
Phal upjave means it gets you the same fruition. It results in the same. So all three of this, whether even you're not doing it directly, it's still bringing the same result.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, if I'm consuming dairy, okay, and because of that, this cow now is going for slaughter. She's been, exhausted, and she's going for slaughter before, and she's going for slaughter age of 5 or 6. Then I am a reason behind it, an indirect reason behind that. So I am equally in fault.
Yeah, because I'm encouraging it.
I'm encouraging it. I'm also a part of it because I'm
Getting the
Karavan, because I'm paying somebody else.
to get the fruits of it.
Yeah. To get that. So my karma is going to bring the same fruit to me even though I'm not killing that
Yeah.
animal directly.
Yeah.
Yeah. In India, it's not a separate industry.
Separate industry. Yeah. It's not separate. And to come back to the intention.
And that's why I'm in leather.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, Jains should not be using leather, right?
Yeah.
But when I tell people to go vegan, I'm like, if you find dairy difficult, leather is the easiest.
To give up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to affect you at all or
Yeah.
your health at all.
Or your taste buds.
At all.
Yeah.
What is the sacrifice?
Yeah.
Nothing. Let's say you're buying 4 bags in a year. I mean, ideally, just give up leather. As a Jain, you should not be using leather. But even if you're buying 4 bags in a year, maybe 1 bag you can buy that's non-leather.
Yeah.
Consciously. Whatever you do, consciously. Next time, maybe reduce that as well. Maybe bring it to 2 non-leather bags and then eventually not buy leather at all. But have that intent. As I said, that intent is important.
Yeah.
Because without an intention, you're just going to keep going
Totally.
aimlessly.
Yeah.
You're not going to do any changes. You're just going to live the way you are.
Yeah. That intention is so important. Even in Jainism, we do, when we're fasting, right? We do pachkarn.
It's the intent.
Yeah.
Right?
Pachkarn
Yeah.
helps you ground into the intent of what you're doing. every
Correct.
day.
The mind doesn't move around aimlessly.
Yeah.
There's a clear message to the mind. I am going to fast. And as you said, you're not fasting for health. When you're fasting because you want to give, that jeev daya.
Yeah.
You want
The
to let
freedom
that,
to
even that
all
one
living
sense being,
beings.
even those vegetables and fruits, you don't want to cause harm to them. That's the intention.
Yep.
That gives you the strength. And that is why, by going back to your first question, when somebody decides to be vegan from a moral ground, is because you've gone beyond yourself.
Yeah.
You've found that I don't want to cause harm to something else. That has given you the strength.
Yeah, because that pachkarn, your mind wants to be like, oh, okay, if I'm doing upvas, which is you're not eating anything in a day, right? if I don't take pachkarn in the morning, then my mind will be like, oh,
Yeah.
maybe I'll do fruit upvas.
Yeah.
Or maybe I'll eat just once. I'll
Yeah.
do
Ekashna.
ekashna.
Yeah.
But you take that pachkarn
It's a
and then
clear
you say,
intent,
this is
clear
it.
message to the mind.
This is it. And I'm not budging.
Yeah.
And then it's a vow to yourself.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know I remember Gurudev also saying, like, when you make that vow, that pachkarn literally, life forms are, all life starts to feel less stressed.
Yes.
Because they know that you are choosing not to consume them.
Yeah. Yeah.
That energy. of
Correct.
that. They relax. Yeah.
Yes. That's why the intent most important.
That's beautiful that you're saying go slow.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah.
So it becomes conscious and intentional. And to your point, you don't get to this place where you desensitize from it. And why does that desensitize thing happen, actually? Like,
Because
what
you just get so fed up, right?
like
when you go out
like you're
socially,
suppressing almost.
you're
right?
suppressing. You're doing it without understanding.
Yeah.
There is no conviction, or there's very little conviction. You're not revisiting
You're
your
sort
why
of doing it because you feel bad
because you felt guilty,
and guilty, which is also of the ego.
which is
on
also
some level.
important at some level, right? It's important to feel bad that I'm doing this to somebody else. It's important to feel guilty, but it can't stop at that.
Yeah.
It has to go beyond.
Yeah, you
there
can't
has
just
to be
keep doing it out of
understanding.
that.
Yeah,
That's
there
not
has to be
sustainable.
there has to be understanding.
Yeah.
And then there has to be conviction. And then there has to be, the methods of, okay, now how do I navigate this?
Yeah.
And once you have that conviction, you'll be able to, navigate this even socially, social pressures, family pressures. Many times they're family pressures.
Yeah.
The pressure from friends, peer pressure. That, when you're going out with them, now how do you adjust?
Yeah. It's a big one.
People will say that, okay, you're such a pain. Or when people invite you home and they have to make something special for you and all that. So these are all pressures, right? And how do you deal with these kind of pressures? Because then you start feeling bad about that as well. And how do you deal with somebody mocking you? Because that also happens.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how do you deal with these pressures? They can only be dealt when you're doing things out of understanding and conviction.
Yeah.
Only then can you stand your ground, and not let these things affect you. And slowly things turn around. At least it turned around for me. People respected me a lot more.
Really?
Yeah.
Why do you think?
With time, people respected me a lot. Because people respect someone with character and someone who stands by their value system. If you're wishy-washy, people don't depend on you. But when they see that you stick by your value system, and anything, that value system can be any value system. In general, you will trust somebody who has certain principles and certain value systems. You will respect them more. So when they saw that I have this value system, I'm not going to budge from this, they respected me more.
Yeah. Do you, for example, and I don't know if this comes across in your life, but for me, I have friends and people around me that are not vegetarian, right? We're sort of going into a little bit of a different conversation, but not so much. How do you react to that? Do you just live and let them do what they're doing while you're going out to dinner with them? Do you say, I won't attend unless everybody's being vegetarian or vegan? How do you handle situations like that?
So suppose if I'm taking somebody out for dinner,
Yeah.
I'm going to pay for that. Yeah, then I do tell people clearly
Yeah.
to order, that I will not be paying for eggs and non-veg.
Yeah.
So I do make that very clear.
Yeah.
Okay. If you're going in a group where you're paying for what you're eating and people order non-veg, of course it bothers me. It's not that it doesn't bother me, but I can't impose it, right? And that's one thing I've learned is, and this is my personal, again, this has worked for me personally, that I don't impose my thing. But I am very clear that I am vegan. I'm very clear when I give out my order that, listen, make sure there's no honey, there's no this, no that. Make sure your vessels are separate. Is there fish broth, chicken broth? I'll have 100 questions to ask, and I ask them irrespective of how the other feels about this.
Mm-hmm.
I make it very clear.
Yeah.
So the other person knows that I stand by this. They order what they want. If it is something very smelly and if it is very something that I feel very uncomfortable seeing, then I tell them that, listen, And there have been times when I tell them, listen, can I just, and this is suppose we are traveling together,
Yeah.
right? And somebody's having that, another, and it happened recently. And that person will only say, listen, I know this will bother you, so I'll sit separate.
Yeah.
Or that I will sit separate
Yeah.
on a table. For me, this is more long term. So I will, it's not that I'm meeting that person for the first time, right? It's a friend. So I will keep bringing these conversations up somewhere or the other, because my intent is to impact them somewhere at least. That reduce your meat, or even if you can't go vegan, reduce the meat, reduce the dairy, reduce the leather, So I'll make sure some point I'm definitely over a period of time,
Like you drop a little
I'm
seed.
definitely touching something somewhere and I see that result somewhere.
Yeah.
But and it also happens, and most time now when I go out with friends, everybody orders vegan,
Mm-hmm.
even if I'm just the vegan person.
Yeah.
Or at least everybody orders vegetarian.
Yeah. Yeah. There's an influence happening.
Yeah.
The other thing
there
is like
a-
when you're traveling, and especially in the US, like things are not separate, like at least in India, there's an awareness of separate veg, non-veg, even on the menu, things are separate, right? Kitchens are separate, but it doesn't exist outside of this country, I feel. And so to retain some of that feels difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So our choice is first to look out for vegan restaurants,
Yeah.
and I think they're very easy to find. Across, as I said, I've been vegan for 18 years. So whenever I've traveled, now I travel without carrying any food, any backup food also with me. And I managed
Really?
to find, I don't carry
Really?
any backup food,
Okay.
Even with kids, except nuts or something, because those are just our everyday healthy foods to eat. I would find vegan restaurants, vegetarian restaurants, vegan-friendly restaurants. When I go to vegan-friendly restaurants, I'm very clear to ask all these set of questions, right? Like I said, is there any chicken stock, beef stock? And the minute you mention vegan in foreign countries, if they have any animal product, they will tell you. So you cannot tell them you're vegetarian. That doesn't work. Vegetarian
right.
is a very Indian concept. It doesn't work in other countries. Because in other countries, fish can be vegetarian, egg can be vegetarian. So simple as boiled rice, when I say, is it vegan? They will tell me, no, it is cooked in beef stock. Simple as plain steamed boiled rice.
Yep.
So I always tell all those who are against even veganism, I tell them, when you travel abroad, make sure you say vegan.
Yeah.
When you will stick to your vegetarian term, you're sure to get some animal product
Yeah.
in it.
That's true.
So even though these people are against veganism, when they travel, they will use the word vegan.
Yeah.
So
Because there's no dispute with that. It's very clear what veganism
it's very
is.
clear. Vegetarian is a concept only in India. So that's what we do. We majority of the time will find vegan restaurants. Like I went to China recently and somebody told me, you're not going to forget vegan, you won't get vegetarian. So take theplas with you. And I reluctantly took 30 theplas. In a week's time, I had just one thepla. Because
Really?
I found 3 or 4 vegan restaurants there.
Yeah.
And I was like, in China, if I can find, never again will I carry theplas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll find it anywhere in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Because there's also a Buddhist vegan restaurants. Yeah.
Everywhere. So, and these were not Buddhist restaurants.
No,
They were
I
just
hear you.
vegan restaurants.
I hear you.
I didn't even go to a Buddhist restaurant. That would be like spiritual food. Then you can also get without onion potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's very easy.
Yeah.
And you're prepared. Like any vegan is prepared that worst case I'll eat fruits. Worst case I'll eat some chips, but I'm not going to eat animal product.
Yeah.
So that conviction, as I keep coming back to it, has to be with you all the time.
Yeah,
That is something you have to carry all the time.
Yeah. It's the conviction and the deep understanding and connection to what you're doing.
You find your way. I keep telling people time and again, it is not difficult. It's absolutely not difficult, and definitely not as difficult as it is for those animals. Nothing close to that. So you have to make a little effort initially, which you have to do for anything. Anything you knew you do, you have to make an effort, right? So that little effort you do initially, but then Super easy.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say it's easy sometimes, but I get what you're saying, because when you have that conviction, it becomes easy
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure, because you find that path,
Yeah.
like you said. So,
Yeah.
well,
And you find that path, you'll also realize that, like I told you, gulab jamun, right? And that was the last time I had it. I didn't have it. And I don't even remember how many years back this was.
yeah.
Till somebody came up with vegan gulab jamun. So I must have had gulab jamun after like 12 or 15 years. I don't remember. I recently had bundi that was vegan. I had completely forgotten there is bundi. Okay? It had completely forgotten about that. Because it doesn't matter. After a point, that these foods will not, which meant a lot to you before. I loved bundi before. But it just lost that importance.
Yeah.
Because I cannot each day, I am not able to forget the fact that there are cows and buffaloes, that there are animals being slaughtered in general,
Yeah.
right? Not just dairy, but chickens and, for everything. That there are animal slaughters. Now, this is a thought that doesn't leave me for a single day. But that bundi, it was forgotten. I didn't realize
Yeah.
for 10 years I've not had bundi.
Yeah, exactly.
It becomes that insignificant. So when people worry, oh, but then what do you do about this and what do you do about that? Trust me, it will become insignificant for you.
Yeah.
I think coming back on that point that I wanted to touch base on, but what about if people consume milk from gaushalas?
Yes.
So coming back to, to that question.
Okay. So if people want to consume milk from goshalas because it's more ethically better,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so in India, there are not more than 20,000 gaushalas and panjrapoles. Majority of them are panjrapoles. So what is the quantity of milk produced by these gaushalas? And when you say gaushalas, then let's assume that they are not artificially inseminated and they are not given any other hormone injections, etc., that happen to the normal dairy, which we didn't even talk about because everybody knows about that. What is the quantity of milk given? How many households are they reaching? And let's say, like, I used to get my milk from a gaushala, from a panjrapole before. Do you know how much milk I used to get? Half a liter or 1 liter. Or sometime if I wanted extra milk, 1.5 liter max. No guarantee. Okay. Rarely, I don't remember if I ever got 2 liter of milk. But I had to make sure I had to call in advance, let them know. Because then they're giving somebody else less, and they're giving me more. And that also, there was no guarantee. So there are times I didn't get. I'd be collecting that malai for days and days and then removing the ghee of that, which would be like hardly anything. Paneer was, if I want to use the milk for paneer, I had to use all of that 1 liter and then be no milk left. So imagine the kind of quantity that's coming.
Right.
So little. Now imagine how much dairy we're using every single day. We're using for tea, coffee, we're using for dahi, chas, we're using for paneer. And that paneer where you're having in multiple forms. That dahi goes into multiple things. Then we're having as desserts, ice creams, mithais, the ghee. Where is so much milk coming from? They're like millions of tons being produced every single day. I think around 600 kg ton milk is produced each day. Right.
Say that again. How much milk is being produced every
I think
day?
around 600 or 600 plus kg ton of milk produced each day. Okay. And the government wants to take that to 1,000 plus each day. How many gaushalas will you need to produce so much milk? If the government has taken 60 years to bring the dairy industry to this level, from a milk deficit industry, from let's say 1950 to 2025, that's 75 years. From a milk deficit country, in 1998, India becomes the highest producer of milk in the world, and it maintains that record of producing the highest milk in the world. We produce 1/4 of the total milk in the world. If it's taken 75 years to bring it to this stage, how many years will we take for gaushalas to come to this level? Until then, the speed at which this is growing, okay, if you have to see the next 5 years and 10-year plan of how to increase the dairy, output, bring it from this 600 or 650 million tons per day to 1,000 kg tons per day. How are you going to stop this process? Is it even possible? Are you going to be able to, match that kind of technology that they're using, that kind of funding that they get? How? And this is an argument I get, that we cannot tell the Jains to stop the commercial dairy till we don't give them an alternative. And how do you give them an alternative? So by starting these goshalas. How many years is it going to take you to take these goshalas to this level?
And even
And
if
are you just
do,
targeting for Jains? What about the what about the total consumption that's happening? Are you targeting to solve your problem of getting the dairy? Or as a Jain, am I trying to solve the problem of these animals getting slaughtered? What is it that I should be looking at as a Jain? I don't want to talk as an individual. Okay, but as a Jain, what should be, or as an animal lover in general,
yeah,
or somebody who believes in ahimsa, because this is not just about Jains.
Yes,
and
this is
ahimsa
beyond
is
that.
not related just to Jains. It's not limited just to Jains. It's limited to everyone. So, am I okay till then for these animals to go for slaughter, and I'm consuming? Then I've only answered my needs, but I've not answered this entire problem. And one way to entire this problem is to walk away from it. And then if you want to consume this, fine. Even though nature's not made it for you, even though that cow is not giving it for you, you have to be very clear why you're having it. That why has to be very clear. Am I having it because I want it? Because clearly your body can do without it. When so many sadhu maharajs are doing ambil, they're not having any vigai. Clearly their bodies can do without it. Today, there are many vegans like me who not had any dairy product, any animal product for that matter, since so many years. We are doing fine. So why is it that I need this? Be very clear of the why.
Yeah.
And should we actually wait ethically? Is it correct to say that till this demand does not go up, until we don't have so many goshalas, it's okay to consume this milk, where the animals are going for slaughter? And if you feel it's okay, take that ownership. That yes, I'm okay with that. I'm okay as a Jain if those animals are going for slaughter. I'm okay as an animal lover or somebody who believes in ahimsa that animals are going for slaughter, but I need those products. Take the accountability, take the ownership.
Yeah, because even this idea that goshalas will produce at that level makes it become no longer goshalas,
because
innately.
Then, and if you want it to come through less cruelty, if you're going to adopt the same measures like artificial insemination, you're going to do that sex semen sorting, you're going to forcefully mount that bull over the cow. You're going to wait for them to mate regularly, make sure the cow's getting pregnant every year or every 15, 18 months. You're following kind of the same pattern, then that is the cruelty is still there.
Yeah.
I mean, anyways, it's not going to be 100% cruelty free.
Yeah.
But the intensity of cruelty matters also.
Yeah. Oh my God, this conversation has been amazing. Honestly, I think I want everybody listening to understand that the context of this whole conversation is ahimsa, right?
Yeah.
The whole context is that. Yeah. And to really connect back into the violence, the pain, the suffering that we are knowingly and unknowingly causing with our choices.
Yeah.
And we left the whole health thing out of it on purpose because I really wanted, A, I know that you're not an expert in the health part of it, but B, I also think it was important to leave that part out of it because without this, I don't know how much the health stuff matters or doesn't matter. Yeah. It's sort of like, anybody could argue for and against anything at any point when it comes to health, I feel, and you can hear lots of reasons for why vegan is unhealthy and lots of reasons for why it is healthy. And there'll be tons of data for all of it, you know, but I think this is important because when you tap into this, that's the real, I think the real consciousness that grows within us and the compassion that grows inside of us that is important for our humanity, for ourselves, for everything. Yeah.
And health becomes the byproduct of.
Yeah.
You just start getting healthy.
My son has never had milk in his life.
Wow.
other than breast milk.
Yeah, that's
He's
amazing.
never had milk
Yeah.
in his life. It came because he had some dairy allergies, you know. And sorry, I should say this a little differently. We did try some milk products at the beginning, but he was having a reaction to it.
Yeah.
But he's never had, after the reactions that we saw, he's never had like a full glass of milk or a bottle of milk ever.
Right.
And he has some allergies and such that I don't think is connected necessarily to not having milk or having milk or anything like that. But if you see the health of this kid, it's incredible.
Yeah.
And the vibrancy,
Correct.
the light and vibrancy that he has is extraordinary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that is in general, once people give up any animal product, they just start feeling good.
Yeah.
That's like an instant experience, that you just start feeling physically good about it.
Yeah, there's a lightness to it.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you drink a glass of milk, let's just say, there's just a heaviness that you feel in your system right away.
Yeah.
Let alone the mucus and everything else that starts to happen. But yeah, so I just so appreciate this conversation because it's been very enlightening, honestly. I think I've created so much distance, even being somebody that deeply believes in ahimsa and is Jain myself, to just feed the palate and the senses. And that was something I was going to say, is that
the senses. It's the senses.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that in spirituality, right, the ultimate goal is moksha, right?
Yeah.
And the path to moksha is how do we, and this is what Mahavir Swami Bhagwan shared with us, is how do we control the senses?
Yeah.
And through being able to control the senses, we're able to actually be on the spiritual path for ourselves. And I think that's the conversation today also, right? Like, how do we control our senses? Because the senses create so much ahimsa, right?
And it's all the senses.
Yeah.
So, the silk we wear.
Yes.
The leather we use.
Yes.
Everything has sensual pleasures. Right, we want to feel good. We want to, and now it's also the entire society thing that create a status symbol. Carry certain kind of brands, leather bags, and brands of certain kind to get that visibility or to be seen in a way. These are all kind of sensual pleasures. So when you have a value system, you're not driven by these kind of shallow sensual pleasures, societal impressions. You stand for who you are and what you are.
Yeah.
There are many people who don't use leather, and they stand by that. You've seen, Shreya Budawat speaks so fantastically. That girl, she's a young girl. She's moving around with people like that. She's not using leather, and she makes a strong statement about it.
Yeah. There's also so many Americans, actors and actresses that deeply believe
Absolutely.
in veganism.
And the different aspects. Veganism is nothing but it's a small part of ahimsa.
Yeah.
I want to just keep making this clear again and again to the Jain audience that do not see this as a foreign concept, Forget the term vegan. Ignore the term vegan. The term vegan, yes, came from a foreign country. The intent behind that is not to cause suffering and harm to another living being.
Yeah.
From an insect to a mammal. That's exactly what Mahavir said. Do not cause harm to moving beings.
Yeah.
Also to vegetation. But some part of it is important for your existence. But this part is absolutely unnecessary. Causing harm to all these moving beings. Absolutely unnecessary. Your survival is not based on that. And that's exactly what veganism is saying. So it's clearly a very small part of ahimsa. But today it becomes a mandatory part to follow. Cannot be ignored.
Yeah, it can't be ignored. Any last words?
No.
Lots of
I
words.
can go on and on this, okay? Like, I don't know how long we've been speaking for, but I can absolutely keep going on this.
Yeah. Well, what are some, you've already posed some really beautiful questions about a lot of this, right? For people to ponder, to think deeply on. Is there one question you'd like to leave them with that maybe you haven't said already?
I think just question every time you buy something. Where did it come from? And how did it come? Because when I'm picking a leather bag, and however beautiful and whatever value it has, what is it that I'm paying for? Am I paying for that beautiful bag? Am I paying for certain kind of society impression that I'm creating? Am I paying for that animal cruelty? Or am I giving a message to the universe that I like suffering? And I always tell people that when you buy a leather bag, you've actually given a consent that, because nature breaks down things, just like in computer, the language is broken down, breaks down. And karma feels that, oh, this person likes suffering, so you will get suffering in return.
Mhm.
What you bought is not a leather bag, but you bought suffering for yourself. So question the why. How and why? Where does it come from, and why do I want to get it?
Yeah, I mean, I even from that to even so, in the US, there was a big movement around farmers markets, and you ask where did this tomato come from, or do you use pesticides? Do you not use pesticides? But this is like the same. This is the same. To really be conscious of what you're consuming. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah,
thank you for calling me.
Yeah,
and thank you for this conversation. It's been beautiful.
Yeah, same. It's been so enlightening, and I think so many people will have to face through watching this what is the reality of the industry and the situation at this moment in time.
Yeah.
I hope you love this episode of Desi Wisdom. Please leave a comment below telling me if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you would have wanted more of. It really helps me refine this podcast to give you exactly what you want. I will be reading every comment and responding. Also, I know this is the last thing that you're going to want to be doing, but if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. When you hit that subscribe button, you'll be notified of the episodes that come out every single Tuesday. So hit that subscribe button. And if you're ready to binge another episode of Desi Wisdom, take a look at this one. It's a good one.